Dear students, the previous class of business communication, that is corporate communication, was on how to build the SIP reports, and the basic components of SIP reports was told to you. Now, in this session, we are going to look at a practical part of how SIP reports actually look into it and what is that I'm supposed to do. I'm pretty sure this some part of this session is already been covered in your first semester, and the basics are from the first semester, but I thought it makes sense to bring the same in the second semester and how these tools, which are widely available in your Microsoft Word, can be used for your SIP reports. So welcome to the part 2 of SIP reports video presentation. What you see here is the first page of the SIP report, and this is how it looks like. Now, the formats generally are being given from the institution, especially from the coordinators, and you need not to worry about the format. So this is how the first page would look like. So the first page would have the title. What title have you chosen during your SIP, be it on primary data or secondary data? That doesn't make any sense here. The title what you have chosen is supposed to be entered here, and that is how the first page would look like. And these are all standard formats, so we are not supposed to change the formats. These formats are been given from the university, and as in when you are doing your SIP report, the SIP coordinator would circulate these formats to you students. Now, this has been done by one of the students of 1719 batch, and his name has been masked here, and is just a report is been taken for the purpose of study. Now the names wherever you see are been masked, and even the title is been masked to some extent. Now what we are coming to is we are looking at how a title would look like. Now this is how the first page the title is supposed to be entered, and this would be the same on to all the pages. Wherever there are titles, you would have to have the same title being made a mention. So you cannot change the titles. The inner pages has a different title, the outer page, the first page has a different title. Now what you see here onto the first page is something similar which is there onto the book which has been imprinted, and somebody takes your book, that is your project report. He also goes through the very first page. The first page is nothing but your screen page, or it has been screen printed onto the project. It is very easy for anybody who picks up your project report to go through what is the project title and what is your name, what is the guide's name, what is your internal guide as well as external guide's name, and what is your number and all those things. And this report is submitted to this format has been given from the university, so we need not to bother about. The next thing which we have to bother about is who's submitting this. Of the person who's submitting, the student who's submitting, his name has to come here, and you need to precisely make a mention of your full name as it is in the hall ticket. Okay, so this is something which you have to take care. Whatever is as per your academic credentials, please do make a mention of that. Similarly, your university register number has to come here, and you need to make a mention of your university register number. So for you guys, it would start with 19 MBA, and whatever last three digits are based on that. Now, this would be done. Your project would be done under the guideship of internal as well as external guide. The internal guide would be from the institute, and the external guide would be from the organization where you are doing your SIPs. So from that perspective, whomsoever is your internal guide, you need to make a mention of the internal guide, as well as his full name with the designation has to be mentioned here. And the same thing should be there onto the first page of the external guide, where the full name of the external guide and his designation has to be mentioned here. Now, this is about the first page. Let's move on to the second page. The second page is the certificate, which is be endorsed by your guide and the director of the institution. Now, this format is also something which is been given from the SIP coordinator. So as a student, you just have to make a mention that your name has to be mentioned, the title has to be mentioned, and wherever the names have to be mentioned, just make sure that the names are to be mentioned. Now, for example, here this is the space where you would have to fill in your title wherever you've done your project. That title of the organization has to be mentioned here, and your full name as per the academic credentials and your register number has to be mentioned here, and your internal guide has to give the certificate. He has to sign, that is the institution guide, and same has to be signed by the director also. Now the next page is the acknowledgement page. Now here you can acknowledge whomsoever has helped you during the process of your SIP, or supposedly someone has helped you to get into the SIP. So you need to thank them here, and you need to acknowledge the fact that they have helped you for your project. And this is how the acknowledgement page would look like. So you can keep it simple if needed, or if you would want to add a lot of information and you would want to make a mention of all the names whomsoever has helped you, you can do that here in your project and nowhere else. Moving further, we have the declaration from the student. So the student has to declare that this format is again being given from the SIP coordinator, so you need not worry about the format. So how it looks like is you need to make a mention that you have done your project in original and is not submitted elsewhere, and you need to sign on this. And this is your endorsement of the project that has been done, is the original work, and it has been done by you. Okay. Of the table of contents, whatever table of contents are there has to be mentioned here. Now, be sure you are aware of how the table of contents are to be inserted, and it is a very simple process. Uh, List of tables, if any, and list of figures, if any, are to be made a mention here. So, list of table, list of figures, as well as table of contents it can be automated. Please do not go for manual. Automated makes it very simple, and please go for automated one, and please make sure that you use technology. Now, how do we do that? It's one of the simplest. If I have to probably tell you, I want to show that executive summary is on page number 8. Now, how do I do it? Is the first thing I have to add it as one of the headings. Now, here is where the headings is heading 1, 2, 3. I can add about 4 headings or 5 headings, number of headings based on my report. So what I do is I choose this as the heading. If I want, I can edit this also. If I want it to be in the specific color, and I don't want it to be in black color. If I want it to be in some other color, or if I want only to be black color, and if I want a particular size to be made a mention, I can do that once for all, and this gets saved, and so this is how it is now. So what it says is I'll just take it once again. I'll take it in the center. So as in when you update heading 1 anywhere, so it automatically takes this. Now this has been chosen as heading 1, so this is how it looked like when it has been chosen as heading 1. Now if I have to come back to the table of contents, just to show you how the headings look like, so I go to the reference, and from the reference I choose. Here we have the table of contents, and what I'm supposed to do is a very simple, just add the table of contents here. Now sorry, it's taking a longer time, system getting stuck. Now here is where we have the table of contents. Now the table of contents, just have to click and choose the format, and based on the format you can just click there, and it says that this is related page number 1 and One second. Here we go. This is how it would look like. Now, the the heading 1 which has been chosen, or heading 2 if we have chosen anything, it would simultaneously take and automatically show us the page number, corresponding page number. Now, for example, let me take one more thing so that you guys would want to, of recruitment industry, I name it as heading 2, and I go back to the table of contents. And what do I do here is I click on update table and entire table. Now, what it gives me is heading 1. As we see, as we had chosen heading 1 as executive summary, it's page number 8 automatically taken, and recruitment industry, which is the subheading for executive summary, so it comes as page number 9. So the second heading, if you see, is gone one part inside, that is about 2 to 3 centimeters inside, and because of which what we see here is this has been called as the heading 1 and heading 2. Now, simultaneously, if we add heading 3, heading 4 simultaneously, it keeps on showing this. Now, let's take one example of list of tables and list of figures, how to add list of tables and list of figures. I'll just take example, and hopefully you can understand. I'll just get into the, are there any tables? Are there any tables? Okay. So we have a list of clients here. Now these are figures which are there. So what I do is I go to the reference section and I say insert caption. And here I have three options: equation, figure, and table. So because it is figure, I would keep it as a figure and click on OK. Now automatically it gets generated, and a list of figures is been mentioned. Now I go back in my list of figures, and what do I do is I add. Here I go insert the list of figures, and I say OK. Choose the format and say OK. So automatically the figure number, that is 01, and list of clients is the figure which has been chosen, and it is available on page number 17. So simultaneously, if there are any tables, I'll just look out for tables. One second. If there are any tables, let's find some tables which I can probably give you an example. Similarly, tables can also be chosen, and tables can be automated, and all the tables wherever you have chosen, wherever they are, based on that, it keeps on adding up. Okay, here we have the tables in data analysis. So let's look into it. Let's look into it now. Similarly, I say insert caption first, and I chose this time is the table. I choose table because these are tables, and I say OK, and it automatically says 01. Why 01? I'll probably tell you why it has been called as 01. The settings are something of that sort. So I name this table in insert caption, and I say 02. So it automatically takes the table number. So if you add 20 more tables, so it keeps on taking the tables by the, based on how many tables are there. So let's look at how do we add. Here we go, list of tables. I again go to insert table of figures, and I choose table this time, and I say add. Now automatically table 01 is on the page number 29, and Table 02 is also on page number 29, and I keep doing the same way. And as and when, if I keep on adding number of tables, what I have to do is I have to come here, and I have to just make sure that I whatever additions are been done, they have been added. So this is about the table of contents, list of figures, list of tables. Now, let's look into a simple. We come back. Okay. So here is executive summary. Now, what we are going to do is for this executive summary, we are uh, this executive summary. Keep saving. That is the best option. Or you can automate the saving option also, which you can do it by going on to file and going on to the options, and there is option called as save, and save auto recovery information every what minutes. So I've made sure that the saving is been done every 2 minutes. So even if I don't save it manually, automatically it gets saved. That is what. And if the file is been lost for some reason, we tend to spend a lot of time preparing this SIP reports. Just make sure that your automatic saving is for 2 minutes or 5 minutes, so that you don't lose a lot of content even if something happens with your file. Now, we were discussing about different chapters. Now, here is where there are a number of chapters coming into picture. So we have the first chapter as the executive summary. Now, executive summary is basic. What is that you have done? It can be not more than 1 or 2 pages, and it tells about what is this information all about in a very crisp manner. It talks about your project. It talks about what is that you have chosen as the title, and it also talks about what analysis have you used. It's quite similar to what you find abstract in your research papers, is something similar, and what limitations you have drawn, and if there are any suggestions, the major suggestions or something like that sort, or the final conclusion in 1 or 2 lines can be uh, written here. Okay. And then we move on to the next thing, which is quite important, which is the introduction about the industry, and industry about the company. You need to specifically talk about the company in multiple pages. So this information is something which is being given from the organization, so you need to, like, the industry experience, industry relevant experience, sorry, industry relevant information has to be picked up by you guys. How is the industry working, and you need to browse a lot for this information and write it in your own words. But when it comes to about the organization, you can choose to write for yourself, or in just copy paste from what has been given from the organization. Some organizations would not want to they don't want you to change any information, so just look into what is needed here, and probably only that information has to be added in this. Now, slowly we move on to the next chapter. Here, going a little fast. So this is all about the project in the first phase, that is the chapter number 1. Chapter number 2 generally talks about the review of literature and how many literatures have you reviewed. So generally there are about the standards of university is about at least you need to have 5. But if you go by some standards of GBS, we tend to look out at least 10 articles which are relevant to your study, and what is that you have taken from those studies. So I have to be mentioned here. So this is all about the review of literature. Now you can go on, and then the next what we have to look out is the next chapter, which talks about the research methodology. And here you need to make a mention of what methodology have you adopted. You have adopted, be it from primary source, secondary source. How is the sampling been calculated? if any hypothesis, what are your objectives, your research design, okay, what data analytical tools have you used, everything comes here. And then comes the data analysis and interpretation, where whatever data you have collected from the primary or secondary source, you need to make a mention in the form of tables, and based on that, you have to interpret. There are many ways of interpretation. I've seen students interpretation in a very wrong way. Now, what is to be written there is based on that particular table. What you find there onto the top, based on that, you have to write the interpretation. And here also you can use something called a citation. Of citation, which you've been learning. There are two basic tools available for citing the material, and one can be one is the Zotero, which has been quite widely available, and it is free to download. Similarly, there is Mendeley's. Both I would probably put it across onto the summary of the description part, so that if you would want to download any of those, either a Zotero or either a Mendeley, can be downloaded by the students, and you can use it. How to use it, I'll probably want to tell you in a couple of minutes. Now, based on now, when we are writing something in general, it's an awesome study here which has been done. Now it says that the Conback alpha, now the reliability statistics has been done here, and the Conback alpha is to be greater than 0.7. That is when you say that the data is reliable, and this test has been run by the student who has done this project. Of rather than putting, this is a nice way of writing, but when you are generalizing, because when you are saying something here, you need to use the citations. I'll a little later, but please make a mention of the interpretation with that particular table only. Don't interpret something which is not relevant at that context. Okay. So now, here is one of the interpretations. Now, the researcher here is used the chi-square, the Pearson's chi-square value, and based on that, he has said whether what is to be rejected and what is to be accepted. Now, based on that, he says that there is association between the uh, technology stack and educational background. Now, for which we'll have to get into the study. I'm not looking into the study in particular at this point of time, but look at the interpretation. It is quite relevant, and it talks about what is the hypothesis been set, and based on the hypothesis, this test is being conducted. There are several tests, and there are several studies which has been done by him. We'll not get into each of them, but interpretation has to be made a mention then and there, as and when the table is there. You need to make a mention of the interpretation. Of we move forward, and I would want you to look into what are the findings. Now, not all findings has to be made a mention, but at least the major findings with respect to your objectives, which have been set in the beginning, has to be correlated. Now, for which the major findings, and you need to just write it in bullet point like this, or maybe a paragraph a little bigger than this, and relevance can be drawn from your objectives. So this is how the major findings have been written, and it can be about 1 page, 2 page, or maybe on 3 pages. And based on the findings, you can give some suggestions, and these suggestions again would depend on what suggestions. How do you connect your research questions to research objectives, to data analysis, to major findings, to suggestions. Now that connect has to be there, and if that connect is to be found, suggestions can be given by you guys. And lastly, after the suggestions, the conclusions are to be given in an overall way, and these conclusions should draw, stating that either the project which you have done has been successful, in what successful, and how it has been effective, and all those things, and how it has been implemented. If you have implemented, has to be brought in. Now, what you see here is a bibliography which is very uh, uh, it's not something which the standards are to be maintained here. To maintain the standards, what bibliography is to be drawn is very simple. Um, you need to cite certain things, and based on the citations only, then the bibliography comes. So if I say that training material should be easy to understand and less complicated, I use citations. So I've used Mendeley's, and let's look into how Mendeley's works, for which I would have to switch on the Mendeley's. Just give me 1 second. Sorry for the inconvenience. Now I've opened Mendeley. Now this is a desktop version, and what you see here is these are a set of articles which are being uploaded, and uh, I read the articles, and based on that we tend to download. Uh, we tend to cite in our Word document. Now, what you see here is the desktop version of Mendeley, and what you are looking at is a lot of information here. And if I have to click on this, this is when double click, it opens, and what it states is it's a paper, and it's a journal article, and article which is being presented in a journal, and this is a lot of relevant information is available with respect to the information which I've searched. Now this is there in my database, and the abstract, what you see here, is been taken from this. Now, this is a very simple version. I wish I would have been in the class to explain you a lot of what Mendeley, but unfortunate that we are taking the classes online. So what you see here is a basic. There are so many articles, and if I have to open this, uh, there is this article which is downloaded from Sage, and which talks about a lot of information. So what I'm going to do is, supposedly I would want to cite this Bindu, the in my work here. Now, how do I do that? Is a very simple. I go to reference. Now, these are some things which is been synchronized with the Mendeley or desktop version, and you need to give permissions as in when you are downloading it from their website of Mendeley. Now, this permission given, it automatically installs as a plugin. And what you see here is the commands with respect to, so it's synchronized between the desktop Mendeley and the Word document, whichever you are using. So I just have to click on insert citation. And as I sometime back was talking about Bindu. So just go back. Now this article, sorry, I did not share showing you the articles on Mendeley. Now this is the version in Mendeley, what you see here. There are a lot of articles here, and I've clicked on one of the articles, and what you see here is the title of the article and the author's name, and there are about 4 authors, and it has been published in Sage journals, and it is a full-fledged article which is available. And what do we do is, at this point of time, we go back to the Word document, and this Word document is I would want to cite here. Now, okay, so I've come back to the Word document. What I'm going to do here is just click on insert citation, and the author's name is something which I have to remember. So I say Bindu, and it says the title, and I just say the okay. It automatically formats, and it keeps all the records intact. What we see here is it makes mention of the author's name, and imagine here I would want to edit something, so I can always do that. I can go back, edit it, and close back. What is that we are going to edit here is simple. How do I do it? How do I do it? How do I edit it? Is very very simple. Just click on inside of the bracket, and here we have an option called as edit citation. I click on edit citation, and now what you see here is Rana 2019. Now this is the name of the author in short, and supposedly I click on that. There is quite a bit of information which is available. Now here is how I use this. supposedly I would made a mention something which is there on 255 page number. So I just click OK, and what it shows is it this again formats, and this time when it opens up, it says the author's name, the year of publication, and the page number in precisely what I'm referring to. So this is a nice tool which is quite free, and lot of useful tool. Rather, I would put it like this way, because once you get to know this tool again, a lot of you can play around. That is what I can say. So here is I don't want the name of the authors. So what I can do is I just say suppress authors, especially when you're writing the review of literature. This is how the format is to be used. And what you are going to see here is the year of publication, and the page number is only going to be made a mention. Even if I have not made the page number, I don't have the page number. In that case, it is going to make a mention of only uh, the format is going to be only the. Now, why? What difference does it make here? Do I use it? Do I use it with the first option? Do I use it with the second option, or do I use it the third option? The first option is the author's name and the year of publication. That is how generally citation has been done. Or do I compress the author's name, and do I use it that way? And when do I use it with the page numbers? Now, all three questions will be answered. Now, when I'm writing citations, when I'm making a mention of this sentence is been referred to a particular page number of the um, the article which I am going through. In that case, what I'm going to do is very simple. I'm going to use this format. That is the author's name, the year of publication, and the page number in precisely. And supposedly here, something similar. I insert one more citation. Here I say again, possibly I'm using the same bindu, but I've referred to something in other page number. Supposedly I refer to 261. I'm just taking an example like of here it formats in a similar way, but here what we see is with a different page number. Now this is useful when we are referring to the same article maybe a couple of times or more than that, and this makes sense when we have different page numbers being referred by the same author. Now, supposedly Bindu has written two articles, then it would show as A and B if it has been written in the same year. So 2019 A and 2019 B, if we are referring to the same author, and if we are referring to the same article, in that case, it would not show as A and B. But there we have to make a mention of the page numbers precisely. Okay, so this is how we use the Mendeley app when we are referring to a particular information. Now, here I would just do edit, and if I'm making a mention of my article and I'm not referring to any precise page number, in that case, this is the format which has been used. This is again a regular format which we tend to use, but there is one more way of doing it is suppress the author. Now, why is this suppress of author being used? Now, supposedly I'm making mention of their names. If I say as per the author, as per Bindu and all, then I need to use this format. Now, what it sorry as Bindu, okay, and I keep on going ahead. Uh, mentions something about training is, and I keep on writing like this. So in that case, I use, when I'm using the author's name here in detail, I'm suppressing the author's name in the citation, and I'm just referring to the year of publication in that. So that is where we use the suppress author, which is again available. If we go on the edit citation, we see there is an option called as suppress author. We use the suppress author when we are referring to a particular when we are writing the author's name simultaneously in the article. So it is inline citation also. It has been called as inline citation also, and these are the regular citations. Now, what happens if supposedly okay, let me write something more about one more author. Just 1 second. Let me take two more references. So Banu Farida and okay. So I insert citation Banu Ali Khatib. Okay, there is one more. You can make a mention of the different authors if we are referring to the same thing. So I say, and supposedly I refer to something in Kothari, and I say yes. So it comes under one particular bracket, and as you see here is the Khatib in 2014, and Kothari in 2004, and Rana. Rana is earlier it was four names, so now it has been compressed into Rana et al. And it here Rana et al. With a particular page number comes to the picture. Now I have taken these three or four citations is I want to show you guys how we can do the automated bibliography. So I'll just go to the bibliography section that it you I can show you in a very simple. I just click on something called as insert bibliography, which is available under preferences. Now I have to just click on insert bibliography, and it automatically whatever citations is been done by me, it takes it in APA style. Why APA? Because I've chosen it as a APA. APA 6th, that is American Psychological Association 6th edition, and here is the way alphabetically from A to Z is been mentioned here. So I have referred to three particular thing, and all three are made a mention here. So this is how insert bibliography works. This is all about today's session about SIP reports, and this is again as and when I have a lot of queries, I would probably come back to you. But I wish that I would have been in the class to explain you all these things. But anyways, whatever circumstances, this is all about SIP reports. And if you have any queries, please do talk to me or message me, and I would be in your service to answer all your queries. So thank you very much, and it was wonderful interacting with you in today's session. Thank you.